Get out of here or I will destroy you, Malik hisses, his venomous gaze piercing Nairobi's opulent Etoile Plaza. Immerse yourself in this dramatic tale of betrayal and redemption as Zuri Kamau, a brilliant black woman, battles her husband's blatant affair and a cold-blooded plot to steal their perfume empire. As the boardroom erupts into a high-stakes battle, Zuri reveals a truth that could unravel Malik's web of deceit. Will she reclaim her legacy or fall prey to his ruthless plot? Subscribe now for our latest stories of courage, and let us know where you're watching in the comments. What dark secrets lurk in Malik's forged papers? Can Zuri turn her betrayal into an enemy? Watch for a shocking twist. This is a story you won't want to miss. The Etoile Plaza's grand ballroom pulsed with the heartbeat of Nairobi's elite, its golden chandeliers casting a warm glow over tables draped in ivory silk. The air shimmered with the intoxicating notes of oud and rose, the signature scent of Lueur Immortelle, Kamau Fragrance's newest triumph. At the center of this opulent scene stood Zuri Kamau, 38, a vision in a sapphire gown that hugged her curves like a lover's promise. Her dark skin glowed under the lights, her braided updo adorned with a single diamond pin that caught every eye. For 15 years, Zuri had been the backbone of Kamau Fragrances, her marketing genius transforming a family legacy into a global empire. Tonight, the gala celebrated Lueur Immortelle's record-breaking launch, with orders flooding from Dubai to London. Yet beneath her radiant smile, a shadow of unease flickered. Malik, her husband and the company's charismatic CEO, had been elusive, his late-night meetings cloaked in vague excuses. Zuri adjusted a crystal vial on a display table, its amber liquid glinting like liquid fire. The fragrance was her brainchild, a blend of tradition and audacity that had captivated the world. She'd spent months perfecting its campaign, her vision resonating in every billboard and magazine spread. Guests swirled around her, tycoons, influencers and perfumers, each eager for a moment of her attention. "Zuri, this scent is divine," gushed a Parisian buyer, her accent thick. "It's like bottled courage." Zuri's laugh was warm, but her eyes scanned the room, searching for Malik. He was late again. Her fingers brushed the sapphire, pendant at her throat, a gift from their 10th anniversary, when their love had seemed unbreakable. Beside her, Nia, their 12-year-old daughter, twirled in a lavender dress, her braids bouncing with each step. "Mom, you look like a star," Nia whispered, her brown eyes wide with pride. Zuri knelt, smoothing a curl from Nia's forehead. "And you're my moon, sweetheart." Nia's giggle was a balm to Zuri's restless heart. She rose, guiding Nia toward Aisha Kamau, Malik's aunt and a board member, whose silver hair and sharp gaze commanded respect. Aisha, 60, sipped champagne, her tailored blazer a nod to her no-nonsense style. "Zuri, you've outdone yourself," Aisha said, her voice low. "This launch is a game-changer." Zuri nodded, but Aisha's next words carried a warning. "Keep Malik in check tonight. He's been distracted." The comment stung, but Zuri masked it with a smile. She'd noticed Malik's distance, missed dinners, cryptic calls, but attributed it to the launch's pressure. As CEO, he thrived in the spotlight, his charm sealing deals, Zuri's strategies secured. Their partnership had built Kamau Fragrances into a powerhouse, but lately, it felt like she was carrying the weight alone. She glanced at the ballroom's entrance, where velvet curtains framed a view of Nairobi's glittering skyline. The clock read 8:40 p.m. Malik was due to deliver the keynote, his moment to bask in the applause. Where was he? The crowd parted as Zuri moved to greet a Dubai sheikh, her poise flawless. She recalled every guest's name, their preferences, their quirks, a skill honed over the years as the perfect corporate wife. Yet her mind churned. Malik's absence wasn't just tardiness, it was a crack in the facade they'd built. She signaled a waiter to refresh the champagne, her movements deliberate, masking the storm brewing within. Nia tugged her hand, pointing to a display where Lueur Immortelle vials glowed under spotlights. "Can I spritz some, Mom?" Zuri hesitated, then spritzed a mist on Nia's wrist. "Just a touch, my love. This scent is for warriors." Nia beamed, inhaling deeply, unaware of the tension coiling in her mother's chest. At 8:45 p.m., the ballroom doors swung open with a theatrical flourish. Malik Kamau strode in, his bespoke suit accentuating his broad shoulders, his smile a weapon that disarmed entire rooms. But it wasn't his presence that silenced the crowd. It was the woman on his arm. Elise Whitaker, late 20s, radiated in a crimson gown that clung to her pregnant frame, her pale skin stark against the fabric's boldness. Whispers rippled like wildfire. Zuri's breath caught, her heart a drumbeat in her ears. Nia's hand tightened, her voice a tremble. "Mom, who's that?" Malik raised a glass, his voice booming with practiced ease. "Esteemed guests, tonight we celebrate Lueur Immortel, but I have another announcement. Meet Elise Whitaker, my partner in our European venture, and the mother of my unborn son, the future of Kamau Fragrances." The room spun. Zuri's smile froze, a mask of ice. Guests stared, some averting their eyes, others leaning in for the scandal. Aisha's glass paused mid-sip, her expression thunderous. The sheikh muttered something in Arabic, stepping back. Elise, poised but visibly nervous, avoided Zuri's gaze, her hand resting protectively on her belly. Zuri's mind raced, piecing together the betrayal. This wasn't a reckless affair. It was a calculated strike. Malik's eyes met hers, a glint of triumph flickering in their depths, as if he'd planned this moment to unravel her. Nia's fingers dug into Zuri's palm, her voice a whisper. "Mom, what's happening?" Zuri knelt, forcing calm into her voice. "Stay with Aunt Aisha, sweetheart. Everything's fine." She rose, her spine steel, as Aisha approached, murmuring, "Zuri, don't let him win this round." The words ignited something fierce within her. The ballroom buzzed, but Zuri stood motionless, a queen under siege. Malik's announcement wasn't just personal. It was a power play, a move to marginalize her in the empire she'd built. Her pendant felt heavy, a relic of a love now tainted. As Malik guided Elise toward the stage, Zuri's resolve hardened. She didn't know the full scope of his plan, but she knew one thing. She wouldn't crumble. Not here. Not now. The scent of Lueur Immortel lingered, a reminder of her strength. This was her night, her triumph, and no betrayal would steal it. The battle had just begun. The Etoile Plaza's ballroom, moments ago a glittering stage for Zuri Kamau's triumph, now felt like a battlefield. Malik's words. "Elise Whitaker, my partner in our European venture, and the mother of my unborn son, the future of Kamau Fragrances," hung in the air like smoke after a detonation. The scent of Lueur Immortel, Zuri's masterpiece, turned bitter in her throat. At 38, Zuri stood frozen, her sapphire gown a stark contrast to the chaos erupting within her. Her daughter Naya, 12, clung to her hand, her lavender dress trembling, as she whispered, "Mom, why is Dad with her?" The question pierced Zuri's heart, but her face remained a mask of composure, honed by 15 years as the perfect corporate wife. The crowd's murmurs swelled, some shocked, others gleeful at the scandal unfolding. Malik, 40, stood on the stage, his arm around Elise, a white woman in her late 20s whose crimson gown accentuated her pregnant frame. His smile was a blade, aimed directly at Zuri. Elise's pale cheeks flushed under the spotlight, her green eyes darting nervously. She was beautiful, poised, but her discomfort was palpable, as if she hadn't anticipated the weight of this public unveiling. Zuri's gaze locked onto Malik's, searching for the man she'd loved, the partner who'd built Kamau Fragrances with her. Instead, she saw calculation, a glint of triumph that chilled her. This wasn't a reckless affair. It was a deliberate strike to dismantle her place in their empire. Aisha Kamau, Malik's aunt and a board member, stepped closer, her silver hair glinting under the chandeliers. "Zuri, hold your ground," she murmured, her voice a low growl. "He's playing a dangerous game." Aisha's warning anchored Zuri, pulling her from the edge of despair. She squeezed Nia's hand, whispering, "Stay with Aunt Aisha, my love. I've got this." The ballroom buzzed, guests craning for a better view of the drama. A Dubai sheikh, Zur, whom I had charmed earlier, averted his eyes, while a Parisian buyer whispered to her companion, her words lost in the din. "Zuri's." Pendant the sapphire from their 10th anniversary felt like a stone against her chest. She straightened, her spine steel, and moved toward the stage, each step deliberate. The crowd parted, their whispers trailing her like shadows. Malik's speech continued, his voice smooth as he touted the European expansion, but his eyes tracked Zuri's approach. Elise shifted, her hand resting protectively on her belly, a gesture that twisted something raw in Zuri's gut. Naya's future, her daughter's legacy, was at stake, and Zuri would not let Malik's betrayal erase it. "Ladies and gentlemen," Zuri said, her voice cutting through the room like a bell as she reached the stage's edge. It was steady, warm, betraying none of the storm within. "Thank you for celebrating Lueur Immortel with us tonight." The crowd quieted, intrigued by her composure. Malik's smile faltered, a flicker of unease crossing his face. Elise's eyes widened, caught off guard by Zuri's presence. "This fragrance," Zuri continued, gesturing to a display of glowing vials, "is a testament to Kamau Fragrance's legacy, a legacy built on passion, integrity, and family." The word family landed like a dart, and Malik's jaw tightened. Zuri's gaze swept the room, locking eyes with board members, Aisha, stern and watchful, Kwame, the CFO, shifting uncomfortably, and Lena, the marketing head, who nodded, subtly, a silent ally. Malik cleared his throat, attempting to reclaim control. "Zuri's right," he said, his charm resurfacing, "and with Elise's expertise, we're taking that legacy to Europe." He placed a hand on Elise's shoulder, a possessive gesture that made her flinch slightly. Zuri's heart pounded, but she smiled, a calculated move. "Indeed," she said, stepping onto the stage, her gown shimmering. "Elise, welcome to our celebration. Your contributions are significant." The crowd tittered, sensing the undercurrent. Elise stammered, "Thank you, Mrs. Kamau, But Zuri raised a hand, her smile unwavering. "No need for formalities. We're all family here, aren't we?" The irony dripped, and Malik's eyes narrowed, sensing her defiance. Zuri turned to the guests, her voice rising with purpose. "Lueur Immortel isn't just a scent, it's a promise of resilience. I crafted its campaign to honor every person who rises above challenges." Her words were for the crowd, but her gaze bored into Malik, a challenge he couldn't ignore. The applause was hesitant at first, then grew, led by Aisha's firm clap. Nia, standing with Aisha, beamed, her fear easing. Zuri's composure was a shield, but inside she was unraveling. Malik's announcement wasn't just personal betrayal. It was a public power play, likely backed by boardroom maneuvers she hadn't yet uncovered. Her mind raced. Had he tampered with her shares, forged documents? The thought ignited a fire in her veins. Malik stepped forward, his smile strained. "Let's raise a toast to the future," he said, lifting his glass. "To Kamau Fragrances and new beginnings." The guests followed, but the clink of glasses felt hollow. Zuri raised her own, her eyes never leaving Malik's. "To the future," she echoed, her voice a velvet threat. Elise sipped her water, her discomfort growing, as she sensed the tension. Zuri caught Aisha's nod from the crowd, a signal to retreat strategically. She stepped off the stage, guiding the conversation to neutral ground, asking Lena about the Paris campaign. But her mind was elsewhere, piecing together Malik's endgame. As the gala resumed, Zuri circulated, her poise flawless. She laughed. With a London retailer, discussed notes with a perfumer, all while tracking Malik and Elise. He whispered to her, his hand on her arm, but Elise's expression was strained, as if she hadn't signed up for this public spectacle. Zuri's heart ached for Nia, who watched from Aisha's side, her innocence bruised. She signaled a waiter to bring Nia a sparkling juice, a small gesture to ease her daughter's confusion. Aisha approached, her voice low. "He's planned. This, Zuri. I heard him pushing Kwame for a share restructure last week. You need to check the books." Zuri nodded, her resolve hardening. "I will. Tonight I play the game, tomorrow I fight." The ballroom's glamour felt like a cage, but Zuri moved through it like a queen, her every gesture calculated. "Malik, Thought he'd humiliated her, but he'd underestimated her strength. The scent of lueur immortelle lingered, a reminder of what she'd built. This was her empire, her daughter's birthright, and no betrayal would steal it. As Malik laughed, with a board member, Zuri's eyes gleamed with purpose. The night was far from over, and she was already planning her next move. The Etoile Plaza's executive lounge, perched high above Nairobi's twinkling skyline, was a sanctuary of polished mahogany and velvet, but to Zuri Kamau, it felt like a lion's den. The gala's echoes still reverberated, Malik's brazen announcement, Elise's pregnant silhouette in crimson, the crowd's shocked whispers. Zuri, 38, stood by a floor-to-ceiling window, her sapphire gown catching the city's glow, her braided updo as regal as ever. Yet her heart thundered each beat a war drum. She'd sent Nia, their 12-year-old daughter, to Aisha's suite with a promise of ice cream, shielding her from the storm about to unfold. Malik's betrayal wasn't just a personal wound. It was a calculated assault on her place in Kamau Fragrances, the empire she'd built over 15 years. Aisha's warning about a share restructure gnawed at her, and now, alone with Malik, Zuri braced for the truth. The lounge door swung open, and Malik strode in, his bespoke suit slightly rumpled, his charm replaced by a predator's focus. At 2:40, he was still striking, but the warmth Zuri once loved was gone, replaced by a cold ambition that chilled the room. He'd left Elise with board members downstairs, no doubt to bask in their uneasy congratulations. "You played your part, well out there," he said, his voice smooth but edged with mockery. The gracious wife unruffled by scandal. "But let's drop the act, Zuri." He poured himself a whiskey from the bar, the clink of ice unnervingly casual. Zuri turned from the window, her dark eyes locking onto his. "An act?" she said, her tone deceptively calm. "You're the one who turned our daughter's night into a spectacle. How long, Malik? How long have you been planning this?" Malik smirked, swirling his drink. "Long enough to secure the future. Elise's son will carry the Kamau name forward. You've had your run, Zuri, marketing campaigns, pretty speeches, but Europe demands a new face and the board agrees." His words were a blade, each one aimed to diminish her. Zuri's fingers grazed the sapphire pendant at her throat, a relic of their past, now a weight she longed to cast off. "And Naya?" she asked, her voice steady despite the ache. "What place does our daughter have in this future you've scripted with your mistress?" Malik's smile faltered, but he recovered quickly. "Nia will be fine. She's young, adaptable. You, on the other hand." He reached into his jacket, producing a sleek folder, and slid it across the table. "This is your way out." Zuri's pulse quickened as she opened the folder. Divorce papers stared back, offering a modest settlement. Enough for a comfortable life, but nothing of Kamau Fragrance's wealth. Her name was absent from the company's shares, her legacy erased. Worse, attached documents accused her of embezzling $15 million from the European expansion, with forged signatures and fabricated bank transfers. The betrayal sank in like poison. "You're framing me," she said, her voice low, trembling with fury. "You think you can humiliate me, then ruin me with lies?" Malik leaned back, his expression smug. "The board's already suspicious. Kwame's seen the evidence. Sign the papers, Zuri, and walk away with something. Fight me, and you'll lose everything. Your reputation, your freedom, maybe even Nia." The mention of Naya ignited a fire in Zuri's chest. She slammed the folder shut, her composure cracking. "You'd destroy your own daughter's mother to prop up your ego?" Malik's eyes narrowed, his voice dropping to a hiss. "This isn't about ego. It's about survival. Kamau Fragrances needs a leader who can dominate, not a wife who plays at power behind the scenes." Zuri stepped closer, her presence commanding despite her pain. "I built this empire with you, Malik. Every campaign, every deal. My vision made Lueur Immortelle a global name. And you think you can erase me with forgeries?" Malik laughed, a cruel sound. "Vision. You're a prop, Zuri. The board wants strength, and Elise's connections in Europe give us that. Sign, or I'll make sure you're prosecuted." Zuri's mind raced, piecing together his plan. The forged documents, the timing of Elise's arrival, Aisha's warning about a share restructure. It was a meticulously woven trap, Malik had been planning this for months, perhaps longer, using Elise's pregnancy as a catalyst to cement his power. Her gaze fell on the folder, its lies a mockery of her life's work. She thought of Nia's trusting eyes, Aisha's fierce support, the empire her sweat had built. "You underestimated me," she said, her voice now a blade of its own. "You think I'll crumble because you paraded your mistress? I'm not the one who's cornered, Malik." His smirk faded, a flicker of doubt crossing his face. "Bold words," he said, "but you're alone. The board's mine." Zuri's lips curved into a faint, dangerous smile. "Am I? Aisha's not blind, and Kwame's loyalty wavers when the truth comes out. You've made a spectacle, but spectacles burn out. Truth endures." She stepped back, her gown rustling, her resolve a fortress. "I won't sign. Not tonight, not ever." Malik's hand tightened around his glass, his composure fraying. "You're making a mistake," he warned, his voice low. "I'll bury you, Zuri. No one will believe you over me." She met his gaze, unflinching. "We'll see who's buried. Malik, this isn't over." She turned, striding toward the door, her heart pounding but her steps steady. As the door closed behind her, Zuri leaned against the corridor wall, her breath ragged. The weight of Malik's betrayal pressed down, but so did her determination. She needed evidence, real evidence, to expose his lies. Aisha's words about the books echoed in her mind. If Malik was framing her, there'd be a trail, and she'd find it. She thought of Nia, sleeping in Aisha's suite, unaware of the war her parents were waging. Zuri's hand closed around her pendant, then released it. That life was gone. A new fight had begun, and she'd wage it with every ounce of her strength. The scent of Lueur Immortel clung to her, a reminder of her power. Malik thought he'd broken her, but he'd only awakened a warrior. The Nairobi night pressed against the windows of Zuri Kamau's penthouse, its skyline a constellation of lights that offered no comfort. Hours had passed since the gala at the Etoile Plaza, where Malik's betrayal, parading his pregnant mistress Elise and announcing their son as Kamau Fragrance's heir, had shattered Zuri's world. The confrontation in the executive lounge had been worse, with Malik's divorce papers and forged documents accusing her of embezzling $15 million. At 38, Zuri sat at her glass desk, the sapphire gown from the gala replaced by a black sweater and jeans, her braided updo loosened into a cascade of defiance. Her 12-year-old daughter, Nia, slept in her room, unaware of the war her mother was now waging. Zuri's heart ached, but her resolve burned brighter. Malik thought he could erase her from their empire. She'd prove him wrong. The penthouse was silent, save for the hum of Zuri's laptop as she scoured Kamau Fragrance's financial records. Her marketing genius had built Lueur Immortel, but tonight she was a detective, hunting for cracks in Malik's lies. The forged documents he'd shown her, bank transfers in her name to a Cyprus shell company, were meticulous, but no deception was flawless. Aisha's warning about a share restructure echoed in her mind. If Malik was framing her, there'd be a digital trail, and Zuri was determined to find it. Her fingers trembled as she typed, not from fear but from fury. The sapphire pendant, a gift from happier days, lay discarded on the desk, a relic of a love now ashes. Zuri's phone buzzed, Aisha's name flashing. She answered, her voice low. "Aunt Aisha, is Nia okay?" Aisha's tone was firm but warm. "She's asleep asking for you. I told her you're handling business. Zuri, what happened with Malik?" Zuri recounted the lounge confrontation, the divorce papers, the embezzlement accusations. Aisha's silence was heavy. Then she said, "He's been cozying up to Kwame, pushing for a board vote to dilute your shares. Claimed you're unfit for leadership. I didn't buy it, but he's got allies." Zuri's jaw clenched. "He's framing me to force me out. I need to check the books." Aisha's voice hardened. "Do it. I'll keep Nia safe. And—" "Zuri, watch your back. Malik's desperate." The call ended, and Zuri's gaze returned to her screen. She accessed the company's secure server, her executive credentials still active. For now. Malik hadn't revoked them, a rare misstep. She navigated to the European expansion files, where the alleged embezzlement originated. The records were clean at first glance, but Zuri knew better. She searched for anomalies, discrepancies in timestamps, unauthorized logins. At 2:17 a.m. she found it, a series of transfers to a Cyprus account, dated 6 months ago, when Elise joined as a consultant. The signatures were hers, but the metadata showed they were uploaded from an unfamiliar IP address. "Got you," Zuri whispered, her pulse racing. Malik's frame-up was unraveling. Needing expertise, Zuri texted Kemi Adeyemi, her college friend, and a forensic accountant. "Emergency, can you meet now? Bring your laptop." Kemi replied instantly, "On my way." "Where?" Zuri sent the penthouse address, then brewed coffee, its bitter aroma grounding her. Kemi arrived at 2:45 a.m., her short locks tucked under a cap, her eyes sharp despite the hour. "Zuri, you look like you're about to start a war," Kemi said, setting up her laptop. Zuri slid the forged documents across the table. "I am. Malik's framing me for stealing $15 million. I found a lead, but I need your skills to dig deeper." Kemi's brow furrowed as she scanned the papers. "This is sophisticated. Offshore accounts, forged signatures. He's not playing small. But if there's a trail, I'll find it." Kemi connected to Zuri's laptop, her fingers flying over the keys. "The Cyprus account's a shell, likely tied to a nominee director. To hide Malik's name, I'll trace the IP and cross-reference the transfer logs." Zuri watched, her mind racing. Kemi's expertise was her lifeline, but time was short. Malik could lock her out of the system or sway the board before she had proof. "How long?" Zuri asked. Kemi didn't look up. "A day, maybe 2. I'll need to hack into the bank's audit logs, discreetly. If Malik's covered his tracks, it'll be buried deep." Zuri nodded, her resolve unwavering. "Do it. I'll pay whatever it costs." As Kemi worked, Zuri paced, her thoughts, turning to Aisha's hint about the board. She needed an ally beyond Kemi, someone with influence. She dialed Roland Okoye, a retired board member and her late father-in-law Jomo's confidant. Roland, 65, answered groggily. "Zuri, it's 3 a.m. She didn't waste words. "Malik's framing me for embezzlement to steal my shares. I need your help." Roland's silence was brief, then firm. "Jomo warned me Malik's ambition could outstrip his ethics. He left a safeguard in the charter, spousal veto power over major financial moves. Check the founding documents. I'll meet you tomorrow." Zuri's heart lifted. "Thank you, Roland." By 4 a.m., Kemi had a preliminary find. An encrypted email from Malik to an unknown lawyer, sent 6 months ago mentioning Cyprus setup and Zuri's exit. It wasn't enough, but it was a start. Zuri's eyes burned from exhaustion, but sleep was a luxury she couldn't afford. She thought of Nia, her innocent smile at the gala now at risk because of Malik's greed. The penthouse felt like a fortress under siege, but Zuri was no damsel. She was a warrior armed with intellect and fury. She poured another coffee, its steam curling like her resolve. As dawn crept over Nairobi, Zuri stood by the window, the city waking below. The forged documents, the Cyprus account, the charter's safeguard. They were pieces of a puzzle she'd solve. Malik thought he'd cornered her, but he'd forgotten who she was. The woman who'd turned Kamau Fragrances into a global name. The scent of Lueur Immortelle lingered on her skin, a reminder of her power. She'd find the truth, not just for herself, but for Nia, for the legacy they deserved. The fight for justice had begun, and Zuri would wage it with every breath. The Nairobi dawn painted Zuri Kamau's penthouse in hues of gold, but no warmth reached her heart. 2 weeks had passed since the gala at the Etoile Plaza, where Malik's betrayal, parading his pregnant mistress Elise and declaring their son the heir to Kamau Fragrances, had shattered her world. The confrontation in the executive lounge, with its forged documents accusing Zuri of embezzling $15 million, had ignited a fire within her. At 38, Zuri sat at her desk, surrounded by coffee mugs and scribbled notes, her black sweater a stark contrast to the sapphire gown of that fateful night. Her 12-year-old daughter, Naya, was at school, shielded from the war Zuri waged in silence. Malik's plan to frame her and strip her shares was a meticulously woven trap, but Zuri was unraveling it, thread by thread, with a resolve as unyielding as the city below. Her laptop screen glowed with financial records, each line a potential clue to Malik's deception. Kemi Adeyemi, her forensic accountant friend, had spent days tracing the Cyprus shell company linked to the alleged embezzlement. Zuri's initial find, an encrypted email mentioning Cyprus setup and Zuri's exit, was a spark, but they needed a blaze. Kemi's latest report, emailed at 3 a.m., was a breakthrough. The Cyprus account, named Aurora Holdings, had received $15 million in transfers from Kamau Fragrance's European fund, all bearing Zuri's forged signature. The account's nominee director was a ghost, but Kemi had traced a secondary email to a law firm in London, linked to Malik's personal attorney, Simon Wells. "This is it," Zuri whispered, her pulse quickening. The trail was faint, but it led to Malik. Zuri's phone buzzed with a text from Roland Okoye, the retired board member and her late father-in-law Jomo's confidant. "Found the charter. Spousal veto power confirmed. Meet me at 10 a.m. my office." Her heart lifted. Jomo's safeguard, granting the CEO's spouse veto power over major financial decisions, was her legal shield. She'd spent the past 2 weeks poring over Kamau Fragrance's founding documents, unearthed from Jomo's old files with Aisha's help. The clause was explicit. Zuri could block Malik's share restructure, but only with undeniable proof of his malfeasance. Kemi's findings were close, but not enough. Zuri needed a smoking gun to sway the board, and time was slipping away. Malik had already scheduled a board vote in 5 days to finalize his European expansion, and her ousting. She met Kemi at a quiet cafe in Westlands, its wooden tables a far cry from the Etoile Plaza's opulence. Kemi, her locks tucked under, scarf, slid a USB drive across the table. "I hacked the law firm's server," she said, her voice low. "Found a draft contract between Malik and Aurora Holdings dated 6 months ago, when Elise joined as a consultant. It lists Malik as the beneficiary, not you." Zuri's breath caught. "Can we prove it's him?" Kemi nodded. "The contract's metadata shows Simon Wells's edits, and I traced a payment from Malik's personal account to the firm. It's enough to start, but we need the bank's original transfer logs to seal it." Zuri's mind raced. "How do we get those?" Kemi's eyes gleamed. "I know a contact at the Cyprus bank. It'll cost, but I can get them in 48 hours. Zuri's resolve hardened, but doubt crept in. Malik's influence ran deep. Board members like Kwame, the CFO, were wavering under his charm. She needed another ally, someone with insight into Malik's moves. She called Lena, the marketing head, who'd shown subtle support at the gala. Over lunch at a rooftop bistro, Lena's eyes widened as Zuri shared the forged documents. "Malik's been pushing Kwame to audit your campaigns." Lena admitted. "He said you overspent on Lueur Immortel. I checked the numbers. They're spotless. He's lying." Zuri's jaw clenched. "He's building a case to discredit me. Lena, will you testify if I call a board meeting?" Lena hesitated, then nodded. "For you and Jomo's legacy, yes." At 10 a.m., Zuri arrived at Roland's office, a modest space lined with photos of Jomo's early perfume shops. Roland, 65, handed her a leather-bound copy of the charter, its pages yellowed but intact. Jomo knew Malik's ambition could turn dark, he said, his voice gruff. "This clause was his insurance for you and the company." Zuri traced the text, her heart swelling. "Malik's framing me for embezzlement to force me out. I have evidence, but I need the board to listen." Roland's eyes narrowed. "Kwame's loyal to money, not Malik. Show him proof and he'll flip. I'll rally the older board members." Zuri nodded, a plan forming. "I'll call an emergency meeting before Malik's vote." Back at the penthouse, Zuri worked late, cross-referencing Kemi's findings with the charter. Nia's laughter from the living room where she played a board game with Aisha was a reminder of what was at stake. Zuri's eyes burned from exhaustion, but she pushed on, fueled by the scent of Lueur Immortel lingering on her wrists. At 1 a.m., Kemi called. "Got the bank logs. The transfers were authorized by Malik's private key, not yours. I'm sending the file now." Zuri's heart soared. This was the smoking gun, irrefutable proof of Malik's fraud. She opened the file, her hands trembling as she read the evidence. Timestamps, account numbers, Malik's digital signature. Dawn broke and Zuri stood by her window. Nairobi's skyline a canvas of possibility. The evidence was hers, but the boardroom loomed like a battlefield. Malik's charm, his lies still held sway. She thought of Nia's trusting eyes, Aisha's fierce loyalty, Jomo's faith in her. The charter's weight in her hands was more than paper. It was power. Zuri wasn't just fighting for herself. She was fighting for the legacy she'd built, for the daughter who'd inherit it. Malik had underestimated her, but she was no pawn. She was a queen, and she'd unmask his truth with a precision he'd never see coming. The Sky Lounge of the Etoile Plaza, perched 50 floors above Nairobi's pulsing heart, was a cathedral of glass and steel, its panoramic windows framing a city on the cusp of dawn. Inside, the air crackled with tension as Zuri Kamau, 38, stood at the head of a polished mahogany table, her tailored navy suit a stark contrast to the sapphire gown of the gala that had shattered her world. 2 weeks ago, Malik's betrayal, parading, his pregnant mistress Elise, and declaring their son the heir to Kamau Fragrances, had ignited a war. His forged documents, accusing Zuri of embezzling $15 million, had been a calculated strike to erase her from their empire. Now, armed with irrefutable evidence and Jomo Kamau's charter, Zuri was ready to strike back. Her dark eyes burned with resolve, her braided updo a crown of defiance. This boardroom was her battlefield, and she would not yield. The board members filed in, their expressions a mix of curiosity and unease. Aisha, Malik's aunt 60, sat with a steely gaze, her silver hair glinting under the recessed lights. Kwame, the CFO, fidgeted with his pen, his loyalty to Malik wavering. Lena, the marketing head, offered Zuri a subtle nod, her allegiance clear. Rolando Koye, the retired board member, sat as an observer, his presence a silent endorsement of Zuri's cause. Malik entered last, his bespoke suit immaculate, his smile a veneer of confidence. Elise followed, invited as a consultant, her crimson dress replaced by a muted blazer, her pregnancy visible, but her demeanor subdued. Malik's eyes met Zuri's, a flicker of unease betraying his bravado. He'd expected her to crumble, not call an emergency meeting to challenge him. "Good morning," Zuri began, her voice clear and commanding, slicing through the room's tension. "I've called this meeting to address grave allegations against me, and to reveal the truth about Kamau Fragrance's future." Kwame shifted, glancing at Malik, who leaned back, his smile unwavering. Zuri distributed leather folders, each containing Kemi's forensic findings, bank logs, emails, and the Cyprus contract, naming Malik as Aurora Holdings beneficiary. "Malik has accused me of embezzling $15 million, she said, her tone steady. "These documents prove otherwise. The funds were diverted to a Cyprus shell company, Aurora Holdings, under forged signatures. Mine. The true beneficiary is Malik." "Kamau!" The room erupted in murmurs. Aisha's eyes widened as she scanned the evidence, her lips tightening. Kwame's pen froze, his face paling. Lena's jaw clenched, her support for Zuri unwavering. Elise's hand flew to her mouth, her eyes darting to Malik. "This can't be right," she stammered. "Malik, you said the expansion was legitimate." Malik's smile faltered, but he recovered swiftly. "Zuri, this is a desperate fabrication," he said, his voice smooth but edged with panic. "You're upset about my personal choices and lashing out with falsified records." Zuri's gaze didn't waver. "Falsified? These bank logs bear your private key, Malik. The contract was drafted by your attorney, Simon Wells. Shall we call him to confirm?" Kwame opened his folder, his accountant's eye scanning the numbers. "These transfers, they weren't reported to the board," he said, his voice tight. "Malik, you authorized them." Malik's composure cracked, a bead of sweat forming at his temple. "A restructuring for tax efficiency," he said, waving a hand. "Zuri's twisting it to smear me." Zuri stepped forward, her presence commanding. "A restructuring that lists you as the sole beneficiary, not Kamau Fragrances. That's not efficiency. It's theft." Aisha slammed her folder shut, Jomo built this company on trust. You've betrayed it, Malik. Her words landed like a gavel, and Malik's eyes narrowed, sensing the tide turning. Zuri raised a leather-bound document, Jomo's charter. Under the founding charter, the CEO's spouse holds veto power over major financial decisions, she said, her voice resonant. I invoke that power to halt the European expansion and demand a full audit of Malik's transactions. Roland nodded, his voice gruff. The clause is legally binding. Jomo ensured the family's legacy was protected. Malik stood, his chair scraping. This is absurd. I'm the CEO, not a puppet for my wife's vendetta. Zuri's smile was razor-sharp. A CEO who steals $15 million says the board deserves better. Elise's voice, small but steady, cut through the chaos. Malik, is this true? You told me Zuri mismanaged funds, that the Cyprus account was for the company. Her green eyes brimmed with shock, her hand resting on her belly. Malik's face darkened. Stay out of this, Elise. It's business. Zuri turned to her, her tone softer but firm. Elise, you're not my enemy. Malik lied to us both. These documents prove it. Elise's shoulders sagged, her trust in Malik crumbling. She nodded, a silent acknowledgement, and Zuri felt a pang of empathy. This wasn't about vengeance, it was about justice. Kwame cleared his throat, his loyalty shifting. I move to suspend Malik as CEO pending a forensic audit. Lena seconded, her voice firm. Aisha's eyes gleamed with pride. All in favor? Hands rose, Lena, Kwame, two others. Malik's allies hesitated, then abstained, unwilling to defend him against the evidence. Malik's face flushed with fury. You're destroying everything I built, he roared. Zuri met his gaze, unflinching. You destroyed it, Malik. I'm saving what Jomo created, for Nia, for our legacy. Aisha proposed Zuri as interim, CEO, and the vote was swift, unanimous. Zuri's heart soared, but her expression remained steely. This was victory, but the war wasn't over. As the meeting adjourned, Malik stormed toward the door, pausing to glare at Zuri. This isn't the end, he hissed. She didn't flinch. It's the end for you, Malik. Elise lingered, approaching Zuri hesitantly. I didn't know, she whispered. He said you were the problem. Zuri's voice was kind but firm. I believe you. Choose your path carefully now. Elise nodded, tears in her eyes, and left. Aisha gripped Zuri's shoulder. Jomo would be proud. Zuri exhaled, the weight of her triumph settling. The scent of Lueur Immortel clung to her, a reminder of her power. She'd unmasked Malik, but the fight for her daughter's future was just beginning. The sky lounge of the Étoile Plaza, still reverberating from Zuri Kamau's triumph, felt like a stage after the curtain's fall. Moments ago, Zuri, 38, had dismantled her husband Malik's web of lies in a boardroom showdown, presenting irrefutable evidence of his $15 million embezzlement scheme and invoking Jomo Kamau's charter to suspend him as CEO of Kamau Fragrances. Her navy suit was a mantle of authority, her braided updo a crown of resilience. The board's unanimous vote to appoint her interim CEO was a victory, but the air remained charged with the aftershocks of Malik's downfall. As board members dispersed, whispering urgently, Zuri stood by the mahogany table, her dark eyes fixed on the Nairobi skyline. Her 12-year-old daughter, Naya, was safe with Aisha, unaware of the war her mother had just won. But Malik's venomous parting words, "This isn't the end," lingered like a storm cloud. Malik hadn't left the lounge. He stood by the window, his bespoke suit now a crumpled facade, his broad shoulders hunched as he gripped a glass of whiskey. At 40, his charm, once a weapon, was gone, replaced by a raw, desperate fury. Elise Whitaker, his pregnant mistress, lingered near the door, her blazer unable to mask her unease. Her green eyes darted between Malik and Zuri, the weight of her misplaced trust crushing her composure. Aisha, 60, her silver hair gleaming, approached Zuri, her voice low. He's cornered, Zuri. Cornered men are dangerous, watch him. Zuri nodded, her resolve unshaken. She'd exposed Malik's fraud, forged signatures, a Cyprus shell company, but the personal betrayal cut deeper. She needed to ensure he couldn't strike back. Zuri signaled Lena, the marketing head, to escort the remaining board members out, leaving only Aisha, Roland Okoye, Malik, Elise, and herself. Roland, 65, Jomo's confidant, leaned against the table, his presence a quiet anchor. Zuri addressed Malik, her voice steady but laced with steel. Your access to company systems is revoked, Malik. Security will escort you out after you surrender. Your credentials. Malik spun, his glass slamming onto the table, amber liquid splashing. You think you've won? He snarled. This company is mine, Zuri. You're a figurehead, a prop I let shine. The board will see through this coup. His words were venom, but his trembling hands betrayed his fear. Aisha's laugh was sharp, cutting through his bravado. Jomo built this empire, Malik, not you. You nearly bled it dry for your ego. Malik's eyes flashed, but Zuri stepped forward, her presence commanding. The evidence is with our legal team, Malik. Bank logs, your contract with Aurora Holdings, your attorney's emails. You stole $15 million. The board's vote was unanimous. You're finished. Malik's face contorted, a mix of rage and disbelief. You set me up, he hissed. You and your accountant friend fabricated this to steal my legacy. Zuri's smile was cold. Your legacy? I built Lueur Immortel. You built lies. Elise's voice, trembling but firm, broke the standoff. Malik, stop, I saw the documents. You told me Zuri was mismanaging funds, that the Cyprus account was for the company. You lied to me. Her hand rested on her belly, a protective gesture for the unborn child Malik had used as a pawn. Malik rounded on her, his voice low and vicious. Stay out of this, Elise. You wanted a future with me. Don't ruin it now. Elise flinched but stood her ground. I wanted a future for our son, not a life built on deceit. Her words struck Malik like a blow, his bravado crumbling. Zuri saw the shift, a crack in his armor, and seized it. Elise deserves the truth. Malik, so does Nia. Your lies end here. Roland spoke, his voice gruff but authoritative. I've contacted our legal counsel, Tunde Adebayo. He's drafting an injunction to freeze your personal accounts pending a criminal investigation. Malik's face paled, the reality sinking in. Criminal, he whispered, his voice small. Zuri nodded, her tone measured. Embezzlement at... This scale carries years in prison. Cooperate, and we might handle this internally, for the company's sake. Malik's shoulders sagged, defeat etching lines into his face. He'd gambled everything, his marriage, his empire, his mistress's trust, and lost. Zuri turned to Elise, her voice softening. You're not my enemy, Elise. Malik manipulated you, but you can choose your path now. Elise's eyes brimmed, with tears. I didn't know, Zuri. He said you were the problem, that he was protecting the company. I'm sorry. Zuri's heart ached, but her resolve held. I believe you. If you have evidence, emails, conversations, share them. Help us protect Kamau Fragrances. Elise nodded, pulling out her phone. He sent me plans for the Cyprus account, said it was temporary. I'll forward them. Her decision was a quiet rebellion, a step away from Malik's shadow. Malik lunged for Elise's phone, but Aisha stepped between them, her presence formidable. Enough, Malik, you're done. Security entered, 2 officers in crisp uniforms, their faces impassive. Mr. Kamau, we'll escort you to collect your personal items, one said. Malik stared at Zuri, his eyes burning with a mix of hatred and despair. You'll regret this, he muttered, but the fight had drained from him. He handed over his access card, his movements mechanical, and followed the officers out. The door closed with a soft thud, sealing his exit from the empire he'd nearly destroyed. Zuri exhaled, the weight of victory mingling with exhaustion. Aisha gripped her shoulder. You did what Jomo couldn't, saved his legacy. Roland nodded, his eyes warm. You're the true heir, Zuri. Elise approached, her voice barely a whisper. What happens to me now? Zuri met her gaze, her compassion tempered by pragmatism. You're free to stay in Nairobi or leave. Your child is part of this family, but your choices are your own. Elise's tears fell, but she nodded, a spark of resolve in her eyes, as The lounge emptied. Zuri stood alone, the city's lights a testament to her strength. Nia's face flashed in her mind, her daughter's future now secure. The scent of Lueur Immortelle clung to her, a symbol of her resilience. Malik's downfall was complete, but Zuri's fight, for justice, for legacy, was far from over. She was interim CEO now, a queen in her own right, ready to rebuild what he'd tried to steal. The Kamau Fragrance's headquarters in Nairobi gleamed under the midday sun, its sleek glass facade a beacon of renewal. 3 months had passed since Zuri Kamau, 38, had toppled her husband Malik's empire of lies in the Etoile Plaza's Sky Lounge, exposing his $15 million embezzlement scheme and claiming her place as interim CEO. Now, standing in the executive suite, once Malik's domain, Zuri wore a tailored cream blazer, her braided updo adorned with a single gold pin, a symbol of her hard-won authority. Her dark eyes, once shadowed by betrayal, now sparkled with purpose. The scent of Lueur Immortelle, her masterpiece, lingered in the air, a reminder of the legacy she'd fought to save. Her 12-year-old daughter, Nia, was at school, her laughter a daily balm to Zuri's battle-scarred heart. Today, the board would vote on Zuri's permanent CEO role, cementing a new era for Kamau Fragrances. The suite's walls, once lined with Malik's self-aggrandizing portraits, now showcased Nia's vibrant sketches and photos of Jomo Kamau's first perfume shop. Zuri's desk held a leather-bound copy of Jomo's charter, its spousal veto clause her legal sword in the boardroom showdown. Aisha, Malik's aunt 60, entered, her silver hair pulled into a sleek bun, her tailored skirt suit exuding quiet power. "The board's assembling," Aisha said, her voice warm but firm. "Kwame's nervous, but he'll back you. Lena's already singing your praises." Zuri smiled, gratitude swelling. "I couldn't have done this without you, Aunt Aisha." Aisha's eyes softened. "Jomo saw your strength. Malik was blind to it." The words anchored Zuri as she prepared to face the board, her resolve a fortress built on truth. The boardroom, with its panoramic view of Nairobi's skyline, buzzed with anticipation. Lena, the marketing head, reviewed Lueur Immortelle's soaring sales figures, a testament to Zuri's vision. Kwame, the CFO, adjusted his tie, his loyalty, now firmly with Zuri after Malik's betrayal. Roland Okoye, Jomo's confidant, sat as an advisor, his presence a nod to the company's roots. Zuri entered, her cream blazer catching the light, her poise commanding silence. "Thank you for your trust these past 3 months," she began, her voice resonant. "We've stabilized Kamau Fragrances, recovered 12 million of the stolen funds, and relaunched the European expansion transparently. Today I ask for your vote to lead permanently." Kwame presented the financials, noting Zuri's cost-saving reforms and new partnerships in Paris and Dubai. Lena highlighted the global acclaim for Lueur Immortelle, crediting Zuri's campaign. Aisha moved to vote, her voice unwavering. "I nominate Zuri Kamau as permanent CEO." The vote was swift, unanimous. Zuri's heart soared, but her expression remained composed. "I accept with humility," she said, "but leadership is collective. Together we'll honor Jomo's legacy." Applause filled the room. Lena's smile radiant, Kwame's nod respectful. Roland rose, his voice gruff. "Jomo would raise a glass to you, Zuri." The words were a crown, heavier than gold. After the meeting, Zuri met Tunde Adebayo, the legal counsel, in her office. "Malik's accounts are frozen," Tunde reported. "He settled out of court, forfeiting his shares to avoid charges." Zuri exhaled, the final shackle of Malik's betrayal falling away. Malik had retreated to a coastal villa, his charm reduced to tabloid fodder, his influence gone. "And Elise?" Zuri asked. Tunde handed her a file. "She's cooperating, sharing Malik's emails. She's in Nairobi, working remotely for the European team." Zuri nodded, her decision to retain Elise as a consultant rooted in fairness. Elise's expertise was valuable, and her child, Nia's half-sibling, deserved a connection to the Kamau legacy. At 2 p.m., Zuri hosted Elise in the headquarters' private lounge, a serene space with art by local women. Elise, now 8 months, pregnant, wore a simple navy dress, her green eyes wary but earnest. "Thank you for seeing me," she said, her voice soft. "I didn't expect kindness." Zuri poured tea, her movements deliberate. "I don't blame you, Elise. Malik lied to us both." Elise's hands trembled as she sipped. "He said you were mismanaging funds, that I'd be his partner in a new era. I was naive." Zuri's gaze was steady. "You chose truth in the boardroom. That's not naive, it's brave." Elise's eyes brimmed. "I've sent Tundi everything, emails, voicemails. Malik planned it all before I was pregnant." Zuri nodded, her compassion tempered by pragmatism. "Your son's part of this family. Stay in Nairobi and we'll ensure his future." Elise hesitated, then spoke. "I want to earn my place, not rely on pity." Zuri smiled, respect flickering. "You will. The European market needs your insight. Work hard, and you'll stand on your own." Elise's shoulders straightened, a spark of resolve igniting. As she left, Zuri felt a quiet triumph, not over Elise, but over the pain Malik had sown. She thought of Nia, now shadowing Lena on weekends, learning the business with a curiosity that mirrored Zuri's own. The Kamau legacy would endure, not through blood alone, but through merit and integrity. That evening, Zuri dined with Aisha and Nia at a rooftop restaurant, Nairobi's lights a canvas of hope. Nia, 12, her braids adorned with beads, raised a glass of juice. "To Mom, the boss," Zuri laughed, her heart full. Aisha toasted, "To Jomo's true heir." Zuri clinked glasses, her cream blazer replaced by a flowing green dress, the scent of Lueur Immortel on her wrists. "To family," she said, her voice soft but fierce. Nia's smile was her anchor, Aisha's pride her shield. Malik's downfall had cleared the path, but Zuri's rise was her own making. As the city hummed below, Zuri stood by the railing, her gaze on the horizon. She'd reclaimed Kamau fragrances, not with vengeance, but with vision. The board's trust, Elise's. Redemption, Nia's future. They were her legacy now. Jomo's charter rested in her office, a testament to his faith in her. Zuri was no longer the betrayed wife. She was a queen, forging a new era where integrity, not deceit, defined Kamau fragrances. The fight had been brutal, but the victory was hers, and it smelled like triumph. The rooftop garden of the Etoile Plaza bloomed under Nairobi's twilight, its lush greenery and fairy lights a canvas of celebration. A year had passed since the gala that nearly broke Zuri Kamau, when Malik's betrayal, parading his pregnant mistress, Elise, and framing Zuri for embezzling $15 million, had set her on a path of war and triumph. Now, at 39, Zuri stood at the heart of the anniversary event for Lueur Immortel, Kamau Fragrance's global icon. Her emerald dress shimmered, her braided updo crowned with a delicate gold chain, her dark eyes radiant with hard-won peace. The scent of oud and rose, Lueur Immortel's signature, wove through the air, a testament to Zuri's vision. Her 13-year-old daughter Nia moved among guests, her beaded braids bouncing, her confidence a mirror of her mother's. Tonight wasn't just a party. It was a coronation of Zuri's legacy. The garden buzzed with Nairobi's elite, perfumers, and international buyers, their glasses clinking in toasts to Kamau Fragrance's resurgence. Zuri, now permanent CEO, had transformed the company in 12 months, recovering stolen funds, launching ethical expansions in Paris and Dubai, and earning global acclaim. The boardroom showdown, where she'd exposed Malik's fraud and claimed her rightful place, felt like a distant storm, its scars faded but never forgotten. Aisha, Malik's aunt, 61, approached, her silver hair glowing under the lights, her tailored blazer exuding authority. "Zuri, you've made Jomo's dream soar," she said, her voice warm. "This night is yours." Zuri smiled, gratitude swelling. "It's ours, Aunt Aisha. Jomo's legacy lives because of us." Nia tugged Zuri's hand, her lavender dress twirling. "Mom, can I show my perfume idea now?" Zuri knelt, her eyes twinkling. "Soon, my star, let's greet our guests first." Nia's passion for perfumery, sparked by shadowing Lena, the marketing head, was Zuri's greatest joy. She rose, guiding Nia toward Roland Okoye, Jomo's confidant, who stood with Lena and Kwame, the CFO. Roland, 66, raised a glass. To Zuri, Jomo's true heir, he said, his gruff voice soft with pride. Kwame, once swayed by Malik, nodded respectfully. Sales are up 40%, he said. Your vision's unstoppable. Lena grinned. And Louis Mortel's the world's top fragrance. You did that, Zuri. Their praise was a crown, but Zuri's heart beat for Nia's future. The crowd parted as Elise Whitaker entered, her navy maternity dress understated, her 8-week-old son, Jomo, cradled in her arms. A hush fell, memories of last year's scandal flickering. Elise, now a valued consultant for the European expansion, had redeemed herself, sharing Malik's incriminating emails to seal his downfall. Zuri crossed the garden, her emerald dress flowing, and embraced Elise warmly. You made it, she said, her voice genuine. Elise's green eyes shimmered. I wasn't sure you'd want me here after everything. Zuri's smile was steady. Your family, Elise. Jomo, too. The gesture silenced whispers, a testament to Zuri's grace. Nia peered at the baby, her curiosity softening the moment. He's tiny, she said, and Elise laughed, tension easing. Zuri guided Elise to a table where Lena and Aisha sat, their welcome warm. The Paris deal's thriving because of you, Lena told Elise. Your market insights are gold. Elise blushed, her confidence growing. Zuri watched, her heart swelling. She'd chosen to keep Elise not out of pity, but because family extended beyond Malik's betrayal. Jomo, named for Zuri's late father-in-law, was Nia's half-brother, a bond she'd nurture. Malik, stripped of shares and influence, had faded to Mombasa. His life a shadow of charity events and fleeting headlines. He'd shown no interest in Jomo, a choice Zuri pitied, but accepted. As twilight deepened, Zuri tapped her glass, drawing eyes. Thank you for celebrating Louis Mortel's anniversary, she began, her voice resonant. A year ago, Kamau Fragrances faced darkness, but we rose through truth and unity. The crowd listened, rapt, as she recounted the company's triumphs, recovered funds, ethical growth, global acclaim. Jomo Kamau built this empire on integrity, she said, holding up his charter. Today, I announce the Kamau Legacy Fund, ensuring sustainability and opportunity for all descendants. She glanced at Nia and Jomo, her meaning clear. Applause erupted, Aisha's eyes gleaming with pride. Nia stepped forward, a small vial in her hands. Mom inspired me, she said, her voice clear. This is indomitable, unconquerable, a scent of strength. She spritzed the air, notes of vetiver and jasmine blooming, a bold creation for a 13-year-old. Zuri's heart swelled, tears pricking her eyes. That's my star, she whispered, embracing Nia. The crowd cheered, buyers clamoring to test. The sample. Roland clapped, his gruff laugh echoing. She's your daughter, Zuri. Elise smiled, rocking Jomo, her gratitude silent but profound. Zuri moved to the garden's edge, Nairobi's skyline a tapestry of light. Aisha joined her voice soft. You've changed the Kamau name forever. Zuri nodded, her emerald dress catching the breeze. Jomo gave me the tools. I chose how to wield them. She thought of Malik's betrayal, the forged documents, the boardroom battle. Those scars had forged her, not broken her. Nia's laughter, mingling with Lena's, was her reward. Elise approached, Jomo asleep in her arms. You didn't have to include us, she said. Zuri's gaze was steady. Family isn't blood, it's trust. Jomo's a Kamau, like Nia. Elise's tears fell, her voice a whisper. Thank you. As the celebration continued, Zuri stood alone, the city's pulse syncing with her own. The Kamau Legacy Fund, Nia's indomitable, Elise's redemption, they were her legacy built on resilience, not revenge. Jomo's charter rested in her office, his faith in her vindicated. Zuri was no longer the betrayed wife. She was a queen, her empire thriving on integrity. The scent of Louis Mortel lingered. A promise kept, the legacy shone, not in gold, but in the family she'd forged, the future she'd secured, and the strength that would endure. Thank you for joining us on Zuri's unforgettable journey of betrayal, resilience, and triumph. Her story reminds us that strength shines brightest in the face of darkness. What moved you most about Zuri's rise, or Malik's downfall? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let us know where you're listening from. Your voices fuel our storytelling, and we're grateful for every one of you. Hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next tale of courage and redemption. Until we meet again, keep shining like lueur immortelle. See you soon.